Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, graduates. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for your patience. We were setting up the YouTube link, and now we're all in and we're being recorded, and you can share this with your friends. My name is Taina Longin, and I'm a training specialist at CASA. And you amazing graduates, I'm excited to connect you to Judge Seidler and go through the swearing in process. And I want to give Emily a chance to introduce herself, and then I'll tell you what to expect during this graduation.
Hi everyone, so I'll be here for tech support. So if you're having any difficulties, if you get kicked out, I'm just going to pop my contact details into the chat box for you. So you'll have my email and also phone number. So maybe just jot that down just in case, because we don't want to lose any of you. Congratulations everyone, and yeah, look forward to the swearing in ceremony. Over to Taina.
All right, so let's get started. So let me tell you what to expect today. So you'll be speaking to Judge Seidler, you will be sworn in, and you'll get to speak to a lot of staff and leadership. So without further ado, let me introduce Judge Seidler. He's one of our very, very favorite judges, and he's been on the bench for 20 years. Judge Seidler, you have the floor. Welcome.
There. Hi, everyone. Congratulations on becoming CASAs. Very excited. There's so many of you. I haven't met this class, right? Right. Mm-hmm. And does anyone, before we get started with like the whole swearing in experience, does anyone have any questions now that you've been all the way through your training and you've got a judge sitting here live in front of you, willing and able to answer any questions you might have? Don't all speak at once?
I know.
So you're all ready to go.
Alejandro had a question.
Good morning,
Alejandro and Loretta.
Yeah. You may get to answering this, but what is your perception of us?
Of what?
How do we interact in your world? Your perception of us, not as individuals, but as CASAs. Like, how do you view us in your day-to-day?
I view CASAs as volunteers. They're the only ones in the system in some ways who are volunteers. I mean, foster parents in some ways are volunteers, but I view CASAs as people who are taking out their time to help a child or a sibling group and to make a difference. I view CASAs as very much the eyes and ears of the court, going out and doing the investigation research into the needs of a child that I'm not able to do, where you're the only player in the system who doesn't have a high overburdened caseload. So for me, CASAs are able to hopefully make clear recommendations of what types of orders I can make for these social workers to be implementing in terms of services to kids. Most of the time when I'm referring a child for a CASA, it's because there's a specific issue there, whether it's an education need or a medical need, especially kids who are going to be requiring different types of surgeries or developmental needs. Or finding the appropriate placement for a child and making sure their placement's appropriate. So when I started as a lawyer representing parents and kids in 1992, I was told that CASAs were rich West Side women who had nothing better to do with their time to involve themselves in the lives of these children, and they were officious intermeddlers. I think we all came to learn very early on that that was not the case about the officious intermeddlers. And so I think that we all view CASAs as a really caring group of people who are here to help us improve the lives of children, and we expect CASAs to be able to really give us clear recommendations and assessments. Loretta.
Hi.
Hi.
I had a general question about the courts. One of the CASAs that spoke to our class talked about walk-in court orders. can you just talk a little bit about that process? If that's something that we need to do, is it fast? Is it arduous? Just kind of like that process if we need something in the interim.
So we have to review the case, as you've learned, at least every 6 months, the child, for general issues and everything else. And often things come up in between hearings that a child needs. Most of the time it will be the social workers or the attorneys filing a request to walk the matter on calendar for an issue. The social workers might file an ex parte application and order requesting something. One of the problems with CASAs is that a lot of times judges are walking matters on and forgetting there was a CASA on the case, and the CASA doesn't find out that the case was being walked on. But so if a CASA has an issue, an order they think is needed and can't wait until the next court hearing, I think most of the time what you can do is speak with the child's attorney or with the social worker to find out if it's something that's going to need a court order. And if so, the child's attorney probably is going to be the easiest one, the one who can help you most quickly get it before the court for the court to consider. And I mean, I have an issue that's being walked on Monday where they need childcare funding for the caretaker. So, and I'd say most of the time walk-on requests are probably coming more from the department end, things that might require funding that they need me to order them to fund. You'd be amazed how much social workers ask the court to order them to do something because that way they actually can do it. Thank you. Yes, Kat.
Hi, Judge. As you so graciously offered to receive any questions with a judge in front, I have a question. In our society, there is unequal expectations that are pressure, judgment placed upon mothers versus fathers. Do you think this spills out into the court?
That is such a great question. I think it actually, in some ways, goes both ways in our court, because I think sometimes you have people who put higher expectations on fathers than mothers. I remember when I was an attorney, I had a case where the mother was using drugs, the child was born with drugs in the system, the father came in ready to step up, and he was made to jump through more hoops than anyone I've ever seen. And I will never forget the day in court when we closed the case with the child home of father, where he came in and the little boy, who was probably 3 years old by then, was wearing his little suit, and he had him sing his ABCs for all of us. And that father really honestly was made to push so many hoops when the child wasn't even in the system because of him. I think often with fathers, they come in and someone wants them to prove that they don't pose a risk, as opposed to viewing the department's job as showing that they do pose a risk. And some judges take that tack and some don't. With mothers, I think at times there are higher expectations for them. So I think it just depends on the individual case and the individual fact pattern. But then within those, we end up with different expectations. And as long as you raised differences when it comes to sex or gender, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that systemic biases play into our court system and our society in so many different ways. And when you have a child who we're looking at whether to place with a relative, and you have relatives who, because they're African American, have disproportionate law enforcement contact, and people don't want, suddenly someone has a concern because of their arrest history, and we have to be aware of the different ways people are treated in society. DCFS over the years has used different standard decision-making tools. And one problem with a standardized decision-making tool is you put in all this information and it tells you whether it's high risk, medium risk, low risk. Well, what it doesn't tell you is that the reason why that person has had more law enforcement contact, the reason why that person has had more DCFS contact is because of the biases that exist out there of various players in the system, whether it's social workers, probation officers, police officers. So checking your own biases, but also being aware of the systemic biases of the other people who are relying on for information is really crucial.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will tell you, the Black Lives Matter movement has really been discussing child welfare in an interesting way, because the way they describe our current system is a family regulation system, and they have been promoting and articulating that we need to move from a family regulation system to a family empowerment system. Okay, Lori and Nick, and then we'll get to the other stuff. Lori.
Unmute. Hi, thank you so much for giving us your time. I read about some of your background and work, and clearly you've been involved in social justice issues for a long time. And I was curious though, well, two things. And I think in one article I read, which we all, in reading these case studies, so much of what we are reading about in families, what the problems they're dealing with is based on poverty. You know, that if more services could be given in that area, half of these people, I don't know what the percentage would be, maybe you'd feel wouldn't end up in your court. And I was curious if anything's being done to try to restore some balance there. And I was curious too, given how progressive you've been, do you feel that the rest of the system, the other judges that you work closely with in LA County, have also really progressed in that way?
To answer your first question, in terms of poverty issues, over the years, DCFS at various times has tried to really emphasize a upfront services approach, which is before coming into the court system, getting families the services they need to stabilize their family and not have to come into the court system. But it's always a pendulum. You know, you're doing a lot of upfront services, and then a child dies, and next thing you know, every case gets filed on and brought to court immediately. And we have this over the last 30 years. I've seen this pendulum swing back and forth. A new director will come in of DCFS who really emphasizes the upfront services, etc. In terms of this court system, over the years, we've ranged between judges getting sent here as for lack of a better word, discipline measures and punishment or whatever, and judges who are here because they want to be. That stopped a long time ago in terms of the punishment method. We often get judges assigned here who didn't especially want to be here, and once they get here, they really end up committed to this system. And I would say that the judges in this courthouse, for the most part, really try to be cognizant of the hardships faced by the families in front of them, and really try to approach it from that angle. But it's always going to be a mixed bag. The other thing is, we're guided by so much law, and the law says to remove a child, there has to be substantial risk of harm, and at disposition, clear and convincing evidence of substantial risk of harm. And we have to look at services available to prevent removal. So it really, once you get here and have been here for a while, in the old days, new judges tended to default to this social workers' recommendations. And I think that more and more newer judges really early on start listening to the child's attorney's recommendations and don't do that same level of rubber stamping necessarily of DCFS recommendations, and the other thing is when we went to a law firm format for the parents' attorneys, I think that's improved the level of representation for parents. So the attorneys are raising issues like poverty, like race, and bringing those up at court hearings and making sure that the court is considering all the factors a family is dealing with.
Thank you.
And Nick, last but not least.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. We've had several discussions just centered around the educational rights holder role. And it's clear to me that, a CASA comes on as per discretion from a judge, but I was just wondering, in your experience, how common is it for CASA to also be an educational rights holder? And is that more up to them to express that interest in becoming an educational rights holder, or could it ever be court appointed and the like? Do you know what I'm trying to ask?
Yes. So first off, I would never make a CASA an education rights holder if they didn't want to be. Often it'll either be raised by the child's attorney or by the CASA. I do have to say it's gotten more common for CASAs to hold education and developmental decision-making rights. Don't think of it as just education rights. It's education and developmental decision-making rights, such as signing off on the regional center services, etc. But oftentimes it's not the CASA solely holding it. So it might be the CASA co-holding it with the foster parent and really being able to help the foster parent navigate the system as well, or maybe even co-holding it with the parent. So we do have a lot of cases where CASAs are holding education and developmental decision-making rights. Usually the parent isn't around to sign off on IEPs and isn't signing off on regional center services, and people are trying to track them down and they're not doing it. Maybe the child's in congregate care in a group home. Maybe there are special issues going on with that child educationally, but the CASA can ask to be appointed to hold them or to co-hold them, and Minors Council can as well. And as Wendy just put in the chat, last year, just under 40% of CASA volunteers also held the education and developmental decision-making rights. So it's a high percentage, and that's definitely higher than it was, say, 15, 20 years ago.
Thank you.
The other thing is the training you've gotten on education issues, I think most of the time is better than even the children's attorneys are getting. So you're really prepared to step in and assist with that and take on that role. On that note, you're not even gonna get my stories about my former foster CASA success stories, because that was like the best questions ever. So I want to thank you all for volunteering. What we're going to do is in a minute or two, and this is not an accident, in a minute or two, I'm going to swear all of you in. What we're going to do is when I swear you in, I'm going to be having all of the CASAs turn off their mute, turn on their microphones and unmute. And we're going to have all of the CASA staff, as you can see, go dark and turn off their videos. I'm going to have you raise your hand and repeat after me. And when I say I state your name, you're going to say I and you're going to state your name. If I say oops, I don't have my sheets in the right order. And the reason why I turned off my screen was to go get my robe to make this really official. If I say, do hereby swear, and you don't believe in swearing, you can replace the word swear with affirm. And then after the swearing in, we are going to take time to one by one acknowledge each of you. In the old days, we would have been in a room downstairs. You wouldn't have had all these friends and family watching on YouTube. So, and you would have come up and we would have taken a photo and I would have handed you a certificate. And then if you had family there, they would have come up and taken a photo as well. So after the swearing in, I'm going to call on each of you, ask you to either tell us how you found out about CASA or what you do for a living, one or the other, pick your choice. And in the chat box is the oath, even though you're going to be repeating after me. Sometimes it's easier to have it in front of you. So please raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nicole State,
Do hereby swear
Do
hereby swear
that I will truly and faithfully
I will truly and faithfully
perform the duties
perform the duties
court-appointed special advocate
of appointed special advocate
on all cases to which I am appointed.
on
on
all
all cases to which I am appointed.
That I will do so
That I will do so
do so
do so
according to law
according to law,
and the policies of CASA of Los Angeles,
and the
the policies of CASA of Los Angeles,
and that I will always act
And that I
and that I will
always act
in the best interest of
And
the
that I will
children or
always
child
ask
the best
in the best
best
interest
interests of the child or children for whom I am appointed.
for whom I'm appointed.
children for whom I am appointed.
Mazel tov! Congratulations! Welcome to CASA.
Yay.
But before you turn off your microphone, before you mute yourselves, as court-appointed volunteers, you will have access to dependency court legal files and proceedings. As you know, these files and dependency court proceedings are confidential. You are charged with the responsibility of upholding the confidentiality of these cases. You are not to discuss these cases nor reveal the identity of these children with any persons other than those individuals who are rightly involved in the case. This would include those court personnel, social workers, family members, attorneys, or other professionals assigned to the case. And so I'm gonna have you raise your right hands again and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to uphold the confidentiality
to uphold the
confidentiality
of the information contained in the legal files
of the
information contained in the legal files
and all other case information
and to all other case
information
that comes to my attention
that comes to my attention
during the course of my work
during the course
of my work
as a court-appointed special advocate.
as a court-appointed
special
advocate.
Great. Congratulations. Thank you all so much for your volunteer time. Since I said when I call on you, you can tell me how you found out about CASA. Raise your hand right now if you found out through Amy Foster. Wow, this is like the first class in a while with none or one. Okay, so I'm gonna call your names, and when I call your name, I have two lists and I have to find the right list. When I call your name, please let us know either how you found out about CASA or what you do for a living. The other thing is, if you have friends or family watching on YouTube, please tell us and acknowledge them and say hi to them as well. So first up is Denise Beaker.
Hello, thank you for joining us today, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I was a CASA before. I graduated in, I think it was 2011, and I did it for 3 years. And unfortunately, I had to give up my time as a CASA because my parents were ill and I needed to devote my time to going to doctor's appointments and that sort of stuff. So now I'm back and I loved my time with CASA, and I'm hoping that I know I'll enjoy it again. And I used to teach conflict resolution and peer mediation in the Pasadena schools through the Western Justice Center. And I'm a real estate agent.
How long ago was that with the Western Justice Center?
It was probably in 2013, 14.
That was around the time Angela O was heading it up.
Yeah. And then Judge Judy
Jerlin.
Yeah.
She's amazing. They're both amazing.
Yeah.
Great. And anyone watching?
No.
Okay. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Katrina Blandino.
Hello. I have my mum and my stepdad watching in England. My stepdad's birthday is today. He's
Happy
60.
birthday.
And I have my sons, Luca, who is 10, and Callan, who is 5, watching. My boyfriend, my nanny, and my ex-husband. It's like a whole happy family here. And I'm a birth doula.
Oh, great.
I can't quite remember how CASA came into my universe, but I know I'm meant to be here, and I'm really glad and proud, and this training was incredible, and looking forward to what's ahead.
Great. Thank you. Welcome. How many babies have you been there for?
40-ish.
That's great. That's great. Okay, and happy birthday to your
And my stepdad, Steve.
Your stepdad?
Steve.
Steve, happy birthday. Make sure that as you're walking out, you bow. Okay, next up, William Clements.
That's me. Hi, I'm Chip Clements. I worked in TV for a long time as on documentary and magazine type shows, and retired a couple of years ago, and have been working as a mediator with the LA City Attorney's Office in their dispute resolution program, and and my mentor there, who has been teaching me about mediating, had been a CASA, and so I heard about it.
That's
through that.
Great.
And
anyone watching?
No.
And you know, first off, the first list I had Chip, and the second one didn't. Apologize for that. And I had another, documentaries right now. You know, while we're all sitting home watching more and more TV because of COVID, Netflix, My Octopus Teacher, if you haven't seen it, and the new one, The Social Dilemma. If you have not seen The Social Dilemma,
I have not seen either.
Documentaries are it right now. Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Annie DeAngelis.
Hello, Your Honor. Thank you. So I'll tell you how I came across CASA. I have a child who is in the entertainment industry, and so he's an actor, and his agency does a really great thing where every year they take a collective vote on 3 organizations that they're going to donate to. If your child, say, books a job, they take part of their own earnings from it and they donate it to that organization. And we voted CASA in, and so every time my little guy or anybody else who voted for CASA books a job, part of their money goes towards CASA. So it just piqued my interest more and more, and I just kept looking into it and thought, what a great idea that his agency's doing this, and it was just a beautiful thing. So that's how I landed here. I'm looking so forward to it.
That's great. Welcome.
Thank you.
Love the piece behind you. Marvin Gaye used to shop at my dad's clothing store at the corner of Sunset and Crescent Heights when there was a Zeidler and Zeidler at the corner of Sunset and Crescent Heights.
Wow.
So now we have to look for your son on TV all the time, or movies. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie Epstein.
Hi.
Actually, hi.
Yes. I thank you for being here, by the way. I heard about CASA actually through a friend of a friend. And I just wanted to get involved because obviously it's been a difficult past 4 years, and I just felt like I needed to get involved in a tangible way. And yeah, this friend of a friend pointed me towards CASA.
Well, you're definitely getting involved in a tangible way where you get to make a difference. And is your friend of a friend watching?
No.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alejandro Guerrero.
Hey, Your Honor, thank you. Honored. So my kids are online schooling right now, so they're thriving, and that's what they're doing. Oh, they're peeking their heads out, wondering why I'm wearing a suit for the first time in 8 months. But they're aware of it. So at one point in my life, I was a LA County foster parent for a number of years. I've adopted children, and I had been thinking for a while, what could I do to give back? I don't have enough bedrooms to foster at the moment. And last December, I was at a holiday party and I was talking to somebody and they brought up CASA. I had never heard of CASA before. And I said, what is this? And they said, how do you not know what CASA is? I went home, I Googled it that night, and here we are. It seems like 5 minutes later, here I am graduating. So looking forward to the next chapter.
Great. I don't know if as an adoptive parent, you and your kids ever watched the CBS show in December called CBS A Home for the Holidays, which is all about celebrating adoption and encouraging people to adopt. But nice experience for families to watch together. Thank you. Elizabeth Hartley.
Sorry about that. Hi, Your Honor. Thank you for coming. We appreciate that. Anyway, I had heard about CASA a long time ago, and I was interested, and I sort of went just so far, but didn't really go all in. And then I was at a board meeting at my son's school, and somebody else on the board is a CASA. She said she couldn't come to a meeting, one of our meetings, because she was going to her CASA child's graduation. And I jumped on her after the meeting, and I said, "Oh, tell me all about it, Suzanne." And she did, and I called her, and we spoke for about 2.5 hours. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to have a child assigned to me and to get started.
It's an interesting time to have a child assigned to you. My cross the street neighbor has been a CASA for a couple of months now, and her new CASA child's in congregate care, and just trying to get that first meeting to meet your child is definite new barriers that you all get to experience and work through. And anyone watching?
Yes, my mom, and also my son, but he's in school also. So I don't know. He's probably got us on one computer and his school on the other. My son, Liam.
Works for me. Hi, Liam. Okay, next, Joya Italiano.
Hi there. Thank you so much for being here. I actually have been, for my entire adult life, a theater actor / comedian. And this year I decided I would like to go back to school and get a master's in clinical psychology. So with that shift, I also just put out some feelers on social media, just asking, does anybody know of any organizations I can get involved with to work with children? And a friend of mine that I grew up with in Colorado recommended CASA because she was a CASA there in Boulder for 6 years. And she said it was extremely fulfilling. So that's what started that process.
It is extremely fulfilling. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck with your own education. Where are you going to school?
I'm going to Brandman. It's kind of convenient because everything is online. So I get to just stay in Hollywood and get my degree in 2 years.
Great. Thanks a lot. Welcome.
Thanks a million.
Juliana LaBarbiera. Sorry, Juliana LaBarbiera.
You actually got it right. That was exactly right.
I'm a Zeidler who's always called Ziedler. I tried really hard.
Well, thank you for being here today, Your Honor. I actually heard of CASA because one of my best friends works for CASA in New Jersey. That's where I'm originally from. So she works for the organization and has a CASA child of her own. And I started talking to her about it more and more seriously and was really interested myself. And I was nervous that I didn't have enough experience. I was feeling very overwhelmed, but the training we got was so substantial and so insightful that I feel like I'm ready to take on this challenge. And I'm really happy to be here.
You'll also have a coordinator working with you, like a supervisor who's there to help you and run everything by and everything else too. So you're not on your own.
Yeah.
And is she watching in New Jersey?
I think she is, yes. And my parents are, and my sister as well, I believe.
Hi, folks. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie Lewis.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. So yes, I am an actor and a real estate agent. I have 2 kids. That's their artwork behind me. They're school pod right now. And let's see. So I heard about CASA on the radio. Honestly, I think I was listening to KCRW. I just happened to be paying attention, and I just knew that I had to do it. I'm not really sure why, but it just caught me at the right time, and that was it.
Great. You know, the artwork, if you watch CBS A Home for the Holidays, I finalized an adoption on there, and because we're doing it on Zoom instead of on a stage, the little boy's artwork was in the background, which was like so special. So
wow. Cool.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, I want to say hi to Stephen, my boyfriend, my partner who's watching.
Hi, Stephen. Put a ring on it. Sorry. Loretta Lopez Herndon.
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm really excited to be here. I first heard about CASA about, I don't want to age myself because I look so young, but about 20 years ago, when in my first life, when I moved out here to California, I was working in a group home for boys, and one of the boys had a CASA worker. And I just thought she was so amazing. She came and she brainstormed with us on what we can do to help him better, to be better. And then after that, I got my degree and I became a licensed marriage and family therapist. And then another CASA came back into my life with just some kids that I was working with in the 0 to 5 population. So after that, I the first time I was like, okay, this is something I want to do maybe later on. And then it's later on. And then coincidentally, I just found out that my niece, who is a neuropsychologist in Wisconsin, in Dupree, she's on the board of CASA. And she actually helps with the training there. So when I was telling her what I was doing here, it was really nice that she was like, I'm so excited. You're perfect for this. And so that just gave me the feeling that 2020 was the time for me to jump into it.
2020 and 2021 are the time for a lot of things.
Not things I was expecting, but a lot of things.
And is your cousin watching?
My niece, I don't know if she's watching. She's a college professor at St. Norbert's. I'll give them a shout out. But my sister, Lena, is watching, my big sis, and my other big sis, Angelita's watching. My husband was watching, but he said at 1:40 he had to go. So, but he's been my rock through this whole process, this training.
And I talk too much, and we were supposed to be done with this part by 1:40. That's life. Welcome. Lori McDonald Parks.
Hi. Again,
Hi.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. I was actually looking specifically for an opportunity to do something in LA County. I've worked for a number of nonprofits just in the fundraising capacity, and really wanted to do something in Los Angeles, and read about CASA. I can't remember. I did, I love to research online, so I don't even know how I came to it, but I came to an article and immediately felt this is what I want to do, because I think the model of what CASA is doing is brilliant. And for me personally, to have a more direct involvement is great. To be really learning about a whole system was really exciting to me. Also felt that maybe I could help them, bring more people into the organization. And so far, I've been so impressed with everyone involved. And I still work, but I'm more part-time. I've worked in film and television and documentary for years. Yeah, I'm just very excited.
Great. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
In terms of the staff being so wonderful and committed, I will also tell you that starting with Wendy, the executive director, almost all of the staff of CASA have been through the CASA training and have CASA kids. And so our next person actually is a new advocate supervisor at CASA, Melissa Montano Ochoa.
Honor. Thank you so much for being here. I actually first heard about CASA when I used to work at the Alliance for Children's Rights under their education program. And we actually went, back when we could actually go into the office, we provided an in-service training on educational rights. And that's how I came across. And then I saw an opportunity and wanted to be part of it, because just walking into the CASA office, the vibe was amazing. People were just super dedicated to their work. And you can just see that it was a very passionate room of people that just wanted to make something better for the world. And I think I really wanted to be part of that. And now I'm here as an advocate supervisor, and I'm super excited.
So for the rest of the CASAs, you have a classmate who's a major resource on education issues. Take advantage of it. Congratulations. Thank you. Anyone watching?
My colleagues here on the call.
Oh, great. Great. Thank you. Ileana Olvera Lozano.
Hi, Judge. Thank you so much for everything. So I am a psychology student at CSUN.
Go Matadors! Go Matadors! Sorry, keep going.
And I was looking at volunteer programs to start in because of my classes, and I wanted to give something back. And CASA really drew my attention, especially after watching a Netflix documentary.
The Fosters?
No, it was the Trials of Gabriel. And it hurt watching it. So I wanted to do something to prevent something like that happening.
Great, thank you, welcome. And remind me what you're majoring in at CSUN?
Psychology.
Psychology, okay. Well, and anyone watching? Any friends or family?
Yes, my mom, and I just heard her.
My
mom and my brother.
Moms are the best. Hi, Mom and Bro. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nicholas Pete.
Hello again, Judge Zeidler. Thank you. I was a former development executive at Universal Television, and then I got to direct my first feature film that came out in April this year, which was a pretty inopportune time for a feature film to come out. But it is what it is, and it probably made the investors more money in the long run, so it's good for everybody.
What's the film? What's the film?
It's an indie called Lazy Susan. It stars Sean Hayes, Allison Janney, Matthew Broderick. It was a splash, but the reason I stopped my former job thinking I could ride the wave, but then I found myself in this year, and my partner works at Apple, and we're kind of doing dual offices in our home, and it was through her colleague that I actually learned about CASA. And then the more research I did into it, I realized the similarities between CASA and guardian ad litem. And I actually had a guardian ad litem in my youth. My parents went through I won't get into it, but a pretty intricate custody battle that found us with the guardian ad litem. So it was just nice for me to kind of go full circle and realize the role a little bit better. And then I realized that could have been a really good service for me specifically. So I'm really excited and happy to be here. I'm still a little confused with certain aspects, but I'm sure they will all kind of connect as the months and weeks to come.
You'll figure it out. It'll come. And is she watching in the other room?
She's on a call.
There you go.
But
welcome. Okay, tell me the name of the movie again. Now I have to go look for it. Lazy Susan.
Lazy Susan.
My sister. Okay, my sister. Okay. We had a Lazy Susan when I was a kid. Welcome. Thank you very much. And last but not least, because she volunteers more than just as a CASA, but as a CASA board member, Allison Pfeiffer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I, by day, work in finance, and in my spare time, volunteer with CASA. So I'm on the California CASA board. I came to know CASA through CASA of Los Angeles. I was on their board previously, and a lot of my CASA LA friends are on here. So it's very exciting to see your face. And I've loved this organization for a long time and worked to help with fundraising from such a different perspective that I'm completely thrilled to get to do this now and it fitting in my life. And I learned so much from each of you, and I am so excited to get started. And my mom is watching, Gail. She's been to many CASA galas. And thank you so much.
California CASA also has incredible people, and Sharon Lawrence at California CASA is amazing. And my dear friend, retired Judge Carol Isaacson is amazing. And what they do to support, especially with a lot of the smaller counties that don't have as much of the structure that we have in LA, what they do to support the smaller county programs is really important. But also there's a lot of advocating that goes on as well. So thank you. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations and welcome to CASA. I think that this can be very fulfilling work. I think what happens is at the same time that you think you're helping a child, you end up growing and yourself and getting so much out of it as well. And on that note, I'm
Judge Zeidler. Judge Zeidler, before you leave, actually, I don't know if you did you catch Francesca on the list?
Francesca, I didn't. Wait, sorry. No, because the second list. So sorry, I skipped her. I had my finger on her name and then I skipped her.
Thanks.
And me too. Did I miss Francesca?
Yes.
Nicole, I don't have on my word.
And Nicole as
How
well.
did I skip you guys? Sorry. Okay, we're going in the order I have. Nicole Holtzberg. Sorry, Nicole, come back.
No worries. There's a lot of people here. Thank you, Your Honor, for being here as well. I work in marketing for a restaurant company that's focused on impact and food access. And I would say at the beginning of the pandemic, I felt a bit helpless as far as, you know, my purpose on this planet. And even though I work for a company that has a great mission, I wanted, similar to Julie, to be more tangibly involved. So I did some research in March that led me to CASA, and I couldn't be more excited to make a bigger impact than I do in my day job.
Do you work for Jose Andres or someone else?
I work for Sweet Green, which is a fast
great.
casual restaurant.
Okay, nice. My dad.
But we've partnered with them as well, so they're doing great work too.
They're doing there's a lot of people out there making sure people are getting fed, especially during the pandemic. And do you have anyone watching?
I don't.
Okay, welcome. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you. No worries.
You know what happens is I keep my thumb on the next name, and then I think that's who I was on. I moved down. Francesca Lance.
Hi, nice to meet you, and thank you for being here. I am a film producer and development executive, and I was looking to do something more meaningful with my life. So I actually Googled how to help foster kids, and that's how I found CASA.
So great. And do you have anyone watching?
No, just me.
I have never seen a CASA class that's this much entertainment industry and development folks. A lot of development folks on here. Wow. And I know that you all have tremendous Rolodexes for getting not many volunteers, getting more volunteers. Yeah, I can't fundraise. So congratulations, welcome. Did I miss anyone else, Taina? Sorry.
I don't believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's everyone now.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. I look forward to seeing you on my Zoom in my courtroom one day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge Seidler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So everybody, you are officially CASAs. Congratulations. Yeah. Woo! Feel the excitement. There are other people who'd like to celebrate with you. So CASA leadership. So I want to introduce the very first person, our CEO, Wendy Julian.
Thanks, Taina, and congratulations to all of you. I'm so excited to welcome you to the CASA family, and I'm sure you can hear from Judge Seidler and have heard from your trainers and the folks who have been kind enough to spend time in your training class that we all feel very passionate about what we're doing. There's a lot of passion. And when we talk about our core values, the ones that you'll hear the most often are deep love and justice. And as I heard you all introduce yourselves today, it seems that you are perfect fits for what we're trying to do here. And I just wanted to say a few words to you of encouragement and thanks, and then also invite you to become as involved as you would like to be in our CASA family. So we all know that you're excited and focused on your service as court-appointed special advocates, as you should be, and I'm super excited for you to meet the young people you'll be advocating for, meet them by learning their stories, by reading their files, and then eventually be able to talk to them on the phone or FaceTime, and then hopefully meet them in person soon when it's safe to do so and when you can do so in a socially distanced way. And then as soon as we have the opportunity for you to begin building an in-person relationship with them. So I wanted to just share some thoughts about my gratefulness and thinking about November as a month to think about gratitude. There are so many things that I'm grateful for, and one of them is the staff that I get to work with at CASA every day. The staff of CASA are a lot of really incredible people who have come at this work from all different directions. Many of them have come into this work always intending this to be their career. They studied social work or counseling or have education backgrounds and knew that they wanted to work with vulnerable children and families and have done so consecutively. Then we have other people who are accountants and fundraisers and people who have chosen this as their second career. And the thing that they have in common as a staff is a deep sense of caring and thoughtfulness and justice for the people around us. And I hope that you'll be able to both appreciate and learn from them, and also take advantage of their incredible strengths as your backbone. So I know I can tell you, I've been working in social justice for 20 plus years, much of it in the juvenile justice system, the last 4 years here at CASA. And I have a CASA case, and I have been so fortunate to be able to work with my advocate supervisor, who will talk me through strategies on things to do. So I encourage you to take advantage of that at every turn. I also want to say how grateful I am for our volunteers. Our CASA volunteers are really extraordinary people, and we try really hard not to let anybody say things like that they're superheroes or that they are, some kind of Mother Teresa type, person, because we're not. I say that collectively, and we don't expect you to be or want you to be. In fact, we'd much rather you focus on the practical elements of advocacy, of changing the life trajectory of a young person by doing things like writing beautiful court reports and investigating, looking thoroughly through the information that's in the child's file, and taking care to make decisions that are thoughtful and based on the facts that you learn in the case. You don't have to be heroic or do this as a full-time job. We really hope you don't do that, in fact. And what I think is so incredible about that is that CASA volunteers are really exceptional about doing that. One of the hardest things that we find in our fundraising and marketing efforts is that CASA volunteers have a tendency not to want to talk about themselves. So it's hard for us to profile them because they tend to be so humble, which is really fantastic and exactly what we want. Also, they just do exceptional things every day, and sometimes they're big and sometimes they're small. And I know that you all are coming into this with great aspirations for what you can do for a child and family. I want you to know that the small things that you do, the regularly showing up, the calling when you say you'll call, the very small details are what are going to end up making the biggest change in a young person's life. I can say that because I have the benefit of having had very long-term relationships with some of the young people in foster care that I've worked with, one that I've worked with for now going on 20 years, which is exciting to be able to see the long game in what we're doing here. Finally, I would just really like to say thank you to our youth. And I think you'll get a sense of what that means as you do this work further. But what Judge Zeidler said near the end of his remarks couldn't be more true for me, is that, when I go to cocktail parties or talk to people that I don't really know about what I do, there's this tendency for people to say things like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing, the work that you do for youth who have been abused and neglected, and to try to make it seem like our work is some kind of martyrdom or some kind of challenge that nobody is up to. And in fact, I have to say, it's just not true at all. And I correct people about that all the time. I love my job. It's pretty incredible. And I love my work as a CASA volunteer even more. I think I'm extremely fortunate to be able to do work that feels great and that also has a tangible difference in changing people's lives. But the reason I love it the most is because of what I've learned from the strength, the resiliency, the intelligence, the creativity, the real beauty of the young people that we work with. And I'll just give you an example of that, of the two cases that I've had over the 4 years I've been here. I got text messages from both of them today. One of the cases closed a year and a half ago, and she's an incredible, almost 23-year-old young woman. And she texted me today to ask me if I had drunk enough water. This is a young woman who spent most of her life in foster care. Her story, could be a book. And what I learn from her every day is about the strength of human character and what real love looks like, and why it's so important for us to do the work that we continue to do, because she is an incredible addition to this planet and to our community and to everything that is good about the work that we do. And there's so many things that could have, and some that did, derail those plans during her childhood that are totally unfair, completely based in inequity, structural racism, poverty, and lack of access to mental health services that her mother encountered. And to see her thriving, there's really nothing that could be more valuable than that. The second text that I got today was from my current CASA kid, who's not a kid, he's a man, but I had actually sent him a message following up on some things I'm working on related to some practical elements of his case, and I was a few days late getting it to him, and I was apologetic and sent it to him, and he responded and he said, "I'm so concerned about knowing how hard you're working and that you have your family and all your job and everything to take care of, and I'm so thankful for you doing this for me." And I'm not sappy as a person or in this relationship with him, but I think what I've learned from the reactions, the follow-up that I have with him, the relationship that I have with him, is that really this is all about human relations. This is about people caring for people in a way that makes our society better. And it is a way that we can actually make a difference in our micro communities, our very small families, neighborhoods, and also our country and our world, by treating another human being who we have no moral obligation to treat in terms of our legal obligation, but who we treat in a way that deserves advocacy, justice, and love because we choose to. And so I can't imagine a better thing to be able to do. And I'm so happy to welcome you into this environment to do so. I want to just say thank you to Nick for what you said about your experience as a child with GAL. And the opportunity to be able to pay this back is cool. And I'm excited that you're doing this. The more people we have that have lived experiences that are similar to what our young people are going through, the better. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that if you've grown up in a sense that you've never had an experience with this, or the child welfare system is brand new, that you can't also be a real element of hope and access to justice for a young person. So I'm so excited for all of you to join this journey with us. You will, over time, be receiving information from me, from Megan, from Marie, from other people you're going to hear from right now, including desperate pleas for money, because that's what I do. I have to try to raise about $6 million a year to keep the ship afloat. And if you're willing to give, we will happily accept your money and dedicate it right back into volunteers and training and advocating for volunteers and kids. If you aren't able to be a donor, please, feel free to forward my emails to other people and or ignore them, and we will love you the same. So we appreciate your generosity, your time, your talent, your treasure, and most of all, your appreciation for the kids and families that you're about to serve. So thank you and welcome to the family.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for this your heartfelt remarks. I want to introduce you to the next person who wants to speak with you. Angela is the manager for outreach and recruitment. So Angela.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations. Congratulations, you made it. Welcome to the family. I am so excited to see some faces that I actually recognize. I'm not going to call anybody out, but congratulations. And I'm so happy that you made it and made the choice to be with us to spread love and receive love from your CASA youth. We would like to ask you to fill your seats. Bring one, bring somebody, talk about CASA. We need more volunteers just like you to complete this whole need that we have here in Los Angeles. Judge Ziegler said it, and when he said Rolodex, I know you all have Rolodex because I have a Rolodex, okay? So please, look through your Rolodex. Tell them to call me or my team, and we'll get you started right away. We'll talk about CASA. We'll encourage you to fill out the application, and we'll encourage them to come on through and graduate just like you, so you can be on YouTube and watch them. So I'm excited to have you here. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for choosing CASA, and bring somebody along with you.
All right, thank you, Angela. The very next person who would like to speak with you is Marie. So Marie is the Director of Development at CASA. Go ahead, Marie.
Hi everyone. Hi, Allison. Congratulations. I'm so grateful for you all. I do want to say I'm always am reminded that there is a lot of good people in this world. You know, whenever I meet a CASA volunteer, I know you can choose many organizations in LA to volunteer with. And instead you chose one that is really, you know, it's not the easiest. And you had to go through, you know, 5 weeks of training to get here. So I'm just so grateful to meet all of you. So my team and I, we manage the fundraising and marketing efforts for CASA. So don't hate me. You know, we are a nonprofit organization, and we receive funding from, you know, individuals and businesses, foundations. We write grants, and a lot of civic groups, local civic groups. So all donations are to sustain and support our advocacy work, and also so that we can grow and serve more children in the foster care system. So today I do ask if you have the means, or if you would like to make a donation in honor of graduation, I invite you to do so. I know, you know, some of you did make an additional donation when you paid for your background check. So I really want to thank you so much for that. If you are thinking about becoming a monthly donor, we just launched our Thrive monthly donation program. We are looking to grow a community of monthly donors, and it really helps us out a great deal, because, you know, then we'll have a reliable source of income. But you know, we know it's extra special when a CASA makes a donation, and you're already giving so much as a volunteer, so much of your time. So you know, like Wendy said, we love you no matter what. We're grateful for you no matter what. One of the main things, though, I do want to ask you is, I know there are many ways to support CASA. And you know, when you're out in the community, when you're out in your neighborhood, you know, if you can keep an eye out for some funding opportunities for CASA. Many companies, they match your gift, you know, have matching gift programs, and a lot of companies are now matching volunteer hours. So we have a few of those that do support us in that way. You may also know a company or work for a company that likes to sponsor events and give the tickets out to, you know, their employees. So I encourage you to, you know, see if that's a possibility out there. Or you may also know someone at a foundation where we can apply for a grant. A lot of times it's through someone, a recommendation or referral in that way. And then something, you know, when you're shopping on Amazon, I'm sure you've seen this through Amazon Smile, we get proceeds from them when you shop, and you'll just have to register, you know, your account with them. And or if you buy groceries at Ralph's, you can also connect your club card to CASA, and Ralph's donates a percentage, so it doesn't come directly from you. And I did want to mention this, you know, what Annie, one of the graduates mentioned, you know, that we receive funding from third-party partnerships. So like what Annie mentioned, that her son's talent agency donates a portion of proceeds, and that was through the direction of one of the agents. So, you know, last year, one of the things that stand out for me is that, you know, we received proceeds from a very small dance studio on the West Side, and it was because two of our CASAs had children who danced at that studio, and they had their small annual concert performance, and we received $45,000 from ticket sales to that. And then lastly, you know, now that you're a CASA volunteer, you'll get information about events that we have throughout the year that we put on ourselves. Obviously, events look very different nowadays. Many are virtual. So, you know, we have a wine and art event that's coming up in February, and that's where there are, you know, there's artwork, over 100 pieces of artwork that's donated by artists, and the artwork is auctioned off, and all proceeds go to us. And then we also have an annual gala in May. And again, like I said, it's they will all have a virtual component to them all. So I encourage you to be a part of all our events. So as you can see, there are lots of ways to get funding, And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email address in the chat. And one last thing, we're active on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So if you could, or if you would like to post a photo from today's graduation, please tag us. And I'll also put our handles in the chat. And also please do follow us so you can get all the latest and greatest news from us all. So thank you again for your time and your support. So grateful for you all.
Thank you, Marie. And now the director of the department that I work in, she leads the volunteer services department. She is the one that guides us through, Lynn Gabriel.
Congratulations, everybody. I'm so excited for everyone. I was looking at this group. This is an amazing group. And I was thinking, there's some people in this group that don't know what a Rolodex is. So that used to be a physical manifestation of our contacts. Yeah, some people know. Rolodex is a big round one on your desk. I think mine is in the garage, actually. I was also thinking, so I was at CASA for 10 years before coming on staff at CASA. And actually, Denise was one of the first people that I trained when I started working at CASA. And so this is going to be just the most amazing thing that you all have done. And I want to speak to something that I believe it was Nick who said is still a little bit confused about some of the stuff. If you all aren't a little bit still confused about stuff, then there's something we've done wrong, because that is developmentally appropriate to be confused about some of the stuff. What you'll learn as you go on is you just get comfortable with being confused, because things change all the time and you're dealing with, so many different people and a kid's life. And there's no way that we can cover all that in training that might happen in a youth's life. I also want to mention, it came up about the education rights holders, and Judge Zeidler said, you don't have to be an education rights holder if you don't want to. And I'm going to speak to that for a second, because the reason that we would ask you to hold educational rights for a kid is because there's nobody else doing it. So I lovingly tell the groups that I've trained, you're better than no one. So just know that there's no way that anyone can know everything about the education system. So the fact that someone would show up to that school and ask questions and ask your supervisor, what questions should I be asking? Never sign anything the first time you go. I mean, there are certain things that you'll learn a ton. When the first time I was an education rights holder, I went into that meeting and I thought, oh my God, they're going to see me as such a sucker and I have no idea what I'm doing. And, the first thing one of the counselor who was in the meeting said about my kid was he wanted to make sure he had his A through G requirements so that he could graduate and go to university. And she said, oh, why do you want to go to university? You just go to community college. You'll just be sagging in the quad. And I thought, this is a counselor who's telling my kid who started out in special education all day, every day, to being mainstreamed and graduating Marshall Fundamental with a 3.2. She's telling him that he shouldn't go to college. Community college is great. And but I think everyone, if you want to go to university, you should. If you want to go to vocational school, you should. But you shouldn't have a college counselor telling you that you don't need to go. You won't last in university. You need to go to a community college. So if that's the one thing that you do sitting there as the education rights holder, you've made a difference. So there's very little, the bar is very low for making a difference. You show up on time for these kids and you're good. Everything else is gravy, and there will always be more that you can do. So I know many of you are high achievers, and just know, get comfortable. There's always going to be more that you can do. Every court hearing, you're going to go, oh, I forgot. And then it'll be another one in 6 months. And even when it comes time to come off that case, you'll think of, oh, I could have done this. I could have done that. Showing up for this kid will be the best thing that you have done. So I congratulate all of you and I thank all of you. And I'm so psyched to actually see you all in person at some point, I hope. And I'd love to hear your feedback on the training anytime. So I'm putting my email address in the chat box, and feel free to let me know if you'd like to set up a time to talk or you just want to email. But I'd be happy to hear from you, hear your feedback on the training, and get to know all of you. So thanks and congratulations.
Thank you, Lynn. I misspoke earlier. Lynn is the Director of Volunteer Services and Recruitment and Outreach. So she leads that two great teams. Okay, so the very last person who'd like to speak with you, that's part of CASA leadership, is the Chief Program Officer. And you've met her before, session 3, Megan Maddock.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations. Yay. You made it through the grueling training process, and now we're ready for next steps. So I'm going to keep my congratulations and admiration short, even though my heart is full of it, because I want you all to get down to the business of being matched with your young person and your supervisor. So we have some incredible supervisors on the line today. We have Farah, Christy, Leslie, Tamara, and your supervisor in disguise in your training class, Melissa, who will be working with you moving forward. And they are all brilliant, incredibly smart people who have a lot of experience in the fields and will help you in those moments where you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing. So you'll have an opportunity after we say our goodbyes to meet with your supervisor in a breakout room and talk through the next steps about what it's going to look like to be matched for your to your child and to get started. I am really excited to see you get started, and I hope that you'll keep in touch with us. Not just with your advocate supervisor, which you definitely should do, but with me and with Wendy and with Lynn, and just let us know how things are going, how your advocacy is going, and hopefully we'll be able to see you in the office sometime in the future. But I will put my email in the chat box so you can be in touch. But I'm so excited for all of you to get started and to meet your supervisor and to get going. The young people need you, so we're ready.
All right, with that, with Megan's remarks, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you all have contributed in training. You've been an amazing group. I've learned so much from you all. And keep your minds and hearts open to learn as you go through this whole process. So thank you for your time and dedication through COVID-19, this really complicated big thing that's happening in the world, and you've devoted time to do this. So thank you. And we're about to end streaming soon, so feel free to wave to all your supporters and family and friends that are here to see you. And I guess I'm going to get a signal from Jeremy, my supervisor, to let us know that we've ended streaming. But thank you for everybody watching, and have an amazing day.